Good?
Yes, it is.
For her? Okay. So Nancy, first of all, just personally, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it's been a pain in the ass to the end being notified and recognized, but that's the purpose of this video, is to make sure that we do make a big deal of your accomplishment and that everyone gets to see it.
Thank you.
And so we're going to do that. It's going to be awesome.
And I'm glad it's over. I don't want to go through this pressure again next year.
Good. You don't have to do it again next year. You can wait till the following year to be Agent of the Year. Okay. So first curiosity, right, is I've gotten to know you a little bit, but I can't remember exactly the first time we met. It was probably in Waltham in the training room or something, or maybe it was over a P200. But somehow you got here. Somehow you got connected to New York Life. What were you doing before you got here, and how did you get to New York Life?
So I am a 2-time former small business owner. I was on my second small business. I had just started a tumultuous divorce and knew that the business I was in was not going to support my children. So I started looking for a position, and I was recruited here.
What even made you aware or open to looking at New York Life?
My mindset is of an entrepreneur, and the more research I did at this position, I realized this would be leveraging corporate America, but still running my own business, which appealed to me.
Go ahead and restate that last part, because it's awesome.
Okay, what did I
I
just say?
realized that this would...
I realized that I could utilize the New York Life platform and corporate America, but I was still able to have an entrepreneur's mindset and run my own business.
Awesome. So you interviewed with Jay. We don't have to mention Jay specifically, but through the interview process, was it easy to decide that this was the right thing for you to do? Was it an easy decision or hard decision to start working with New York Life?
I liked what I had heard and read and researched about the company. The decision was ultimately very difficult because I was shifting careers and I was moving into single motherhood for the first time. But I knew with big risk would come big reward, and I knew that I do not let myself fail.
Great. All right, so of the career, when you started the training and coming to the office, first impressions, early emotions really about it.
Yeah, it was overwhelming for sure, but it was also because I was pairing it with a very overwhelming personal life at the time. However, what I did realize is there was abundance of education and support. So I knew that with my tight single mother timeline, I would have to pick and choose and leverage the resources that were good for me and for my business, because ultimately this is my business.
What were some of those resources that you saw early on that you said, I can take advantage of that? Some specific things that allowed you to be successful?
So for me, it was hard to get to Waltham just logistically. I had my kids 70% of the time. So what I really leveraged initially was joint work. And a lot of the agents that were in the office and learning from them, I learn as I do things. And for me, that was great, and seeing so many different styles of agents who were also very welcoming.
Who were, let's say, no more than 2 or 3 of the agents who you did learn a lot from early on?
Mark Salvaggi, number 1. He's one of a kind. Matt Angel helped out quite a bit, and I had worked with Rob Crocker early on as well.
Great. Do you want to highlight anything specific? We'll talk a lot about Mark and that team. Do you want to highlight anything specific that you learned from, or any sort of mentorship that you got from Matt or Rob or anybody besides Mark? Or is it not individual at that level? Like, not significant?
I don't think significant enough to get a little bit from everybody.
It's good that you mentioned Matt and Rob. Okay. All right, so early on you find some people who can show you some things that work. Did you think about how to mention or not mention Jay DiMarzo, and then how to bring Bill or Peter into it as the manager? Did you think about that at all?
I mean, I've thought about it. I'd like to mention Jay. He was important in my career here.
Okay.
And then it was great moving over to Bill because He lets me bug him at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, and
Perfect.
he's a good support.
Okay, so I'm fine with that. Go ahead and mention, do that, if you can just make the transition. If you can talk about Jay, but then transition to how it's great working with Bill.
Okay, how do I say it? So I was brought on board by Jay DiMarzo, and he was a fabulous first partner. And then I transitioned over to Bill Terry, and I appreciate Bill's help. He lets me bug him at 6 in the morning, Saturdays, nights. He's always responsive.
How come that's your ethic? How come that's your mentality?
How honest do you want me to get?
50%. Tell us the part that is kind of PG-13.
Okay. So when I grew up, my family did not have money. I learned work ethic very early on, and I knew that if I wanted to get something, I had to do it myself. I got myself through college. I've gotten myself where I am now. And it's all by hard work. I'm not smarter than the next person. It's just by hard work. Just show up and work hard.
So do you have any kind of somewhat specific examples of how that's helped you in the business? A situation where you didn't quit and you found a way to overcome?
You cannot be afraid to call people. I don't care if they are the CEO of a company or your dog walker. Treat each person like the next. Don't be afraid to call. What are you afraid of? That they're going to say yes?
So continue talking about phoning. So when you call people and you're fearless, how do you get appointments? What makes you good at getting people to meet with you? Because we're going to come. Mark mentioned it. Look, you get rejected also, but you also find a way to get people to meet with you or meet with your team,
Mm-hmm.
right, or Mark? So, what are some of the ways that? What are some of the reasons you're able to get people to say yes to meeting with you?
Early on, it was just persistence, not giving up. You see statistics all the time of how many contacts it takes to get through to someone, and those are all 100% true. So that was early on. Later on, I got people to meet with me, better language, and the things I've learned from other advisors. When you first start, people know you're new, and they're a little hesitant to meet with you. So that is why joint work can become really important when you're a fresh advisor.
So how did that play out for you? How did your joint work come to be? First of all, how did it start, and how did it allow you to, I don't want to say succeed over it, but how did it allow you to get meetings, to get people to agree to meet with you, to get people to buy from you? Just break it down however you want.
So you knew going into it, and you're calling people, especially you're calling your Project 200 and their friends or relatives, that they know you're green. Just address it up front and say you're working side by side with some of the top advisors, and could we meet with you just to see if we could be a resource in any way? And that we, rather than the I, becomes really important. Become the appointment setter first and the advisor later.
Who taught you that?
I think having two small businesses, I figured that out along the years. I've dealt with a lot of clients. So I figured it out just from personal experience, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's working.
Great. What was your first small business?
In 2006, I sold the largest dog walking and pet sitting company at the time on the South Shore. And then my second business was a healthy vending machine company. And I quickly found out that nobody wants healthy foods. It was all junk by the end.
So the first one, the dog walking, was your exit a sale?
Mm-hmm.
Or just,
I sold both companies. The first one I used a broker. The second one I sold by myself.
Okay. All right. You want to take a sip of your drink
Sure.
or whatever? Yeah.
It's like you're in the hot seat. It's funny.
You don't have big lights on you, at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Things that you've learned and what you enjoy, and then we'll really get into the team. But before we go, anybody else that you need to mention specifically, so-and-so has been very helpful?
Yeah, I mean, Dan Haddad, Mike Augustus have been super helpful, but beyond that, John Bagley, Richard Martin, we call them at a moment's notice. Mia Evans, God bless her, she lets me torture her on the virtual counter every morning because I'm always the first one waiting. So good people. I'm like, who am I forgetting?
That's all right. This isn't your opportunity to thank people. You can certainly do more of that. This is, okay. Any specific, anything you want to talk about with relation to Peter's as being a teacher, mentor, guide, role model, anything about Peter McAfee?
I mean, I haven't had a lot of interaction myself with Peter. I don't want to put that on camera, but it's definitely wonderful knowing that he heads up all of Boston because he is a strong leader and will help you when you need something done. He gets it done. And he's accessible, which is, you don't see that a lot at people who head up companies.
Okay, good. Same question about Bill Terry. Anything specific you want to say about how Bill can help?
Bill always goes to bat for me. He knows when I reach out to him that I really need the help. And he is super responsive and he gets the job done. And I appreciate that.
Okay, great. That's all we need. Because as we have them
Yep.
coming in and speaking, it's nice to have a little bit of back and forth. So that's perfect. Okay. All right, so let's start talking about, first of all, before any other, challenges, right? Balancing it all, single mom, and just the normal challenges. Any other specific challenges that you thought of for yourself? We talked about getting past the phoning issues. Anything else?
I mean, the obvious is not having a regular salary. That was pretty frightening, going out on my own, not having a salary. Somebody said to me, you're going to feel like the most overworked and underpaid person in your first 3 years, but after that it will flip-flop. And I'm right on that cusp now, and I see it now.
Great point. Any other challenges?
Sure, name flow is always a challenge, but you have to overcome that and get creative. Once you work through your Project 200, then what? You have to work your COIs and your referrals and your lead sources and, just ways in which you create new business.
So all that is true for everybody.
Yep.
So now let's talk about how you did it.
Yeah.
Tell me something that you did with developing a COI or working a source or something that has worked for you.
So I've used my own personal experience to leverage clients. I could speak really well in the divorce market. I founded a networking group that we meet monthly for divorce folks where we get together personally, professionally. I work this as if it's my own business. And one of the things I have here, which I didn't have in my past 2 businesses, is I have a team. I was sole owner of my past businesses, but here, finding what your strengths are and leveraging those and finding somebody who is strong at the things you're not is really important.
Okay, so we're into teamwork. So that's perfect. So how did it turn out to be Mark Salvaggi? What brought you and Mark together, and then we can talk about how you provide that support.
So I knew the way that I could learn best early on was with joint work and working with different advisors. So that I did, and I didn't put all my eggs in one basket with one person. I did joint work with numerous people to learn different styles. And over the course of that, it just evolved a natural partnership with Mark. I was really good at things he wasn't, and vice versa. And it has since been a great fit, and we work really well together, and we leverage the different personalities with our clients because, not one person always gets along with a client, so it's great to have a team of people. And it's wonderful to actually have a partner that you can do work with and support because we talk about death and dying all day, so sometimes it's just fun to do joint work.
Outstanding things you've learned from working with Mark.
To listen.
Give me a full statement about that.
One of the best things I've learned from Mark is how to listen to the client. I've also learned language and stories and analogies which resonate with clients rather than just telling them about products. And that really does work.
about the bad dad jokes?
Wouldn't be a good day in the office without the bad dad jokes. We really do need to joke around here. We talk about really serious stuff all day. You know, whether you have to deliver a death benefit check or somebody's getting divorced, there's some heavy material. So joking around really lightens the mood, and it also teaches somebody to trust you.
You want to talk about specifically that you learned from working with Mark? Or you just want to talk more about how you do the teamwork?
Maybe more about teamwork.
Okay. You want to take a quick break? Who wants the
Sure.
spotlight?
That's okay, because I don't need to have the spotlight. I let him shine, and then they know who wears the pants in the partnership when they talk to me after.
Okay.
It's like dealing with a yellow lab. I'm really well versed in that.
Oh man, work as a single mom.
Yep.
Um,
But in some regards, that really saved me as well. My planning is so much better off personally for me than it would have been if I had not come here. So it has saved me in so many regards. It's letting me provide a better future for my retirement and legacy for my children. And that is what drives me every single day.
okay. I don't know how much I'll work it in, but I have to ask, I'm curious. So what, literally day by day, how did you set it up to work? How did you set it up to be busy, doing lots of cases, and still full-time momming? What did you do?
I have no idea, but I'm sitting here today. You just get through each day. I don't think of it in large stretches. It's day by day. And although COVID really stunk, really good benefit has been Zoom and automation and the technology. We've really embraced that a lot.
All right, good. Okay. All right, so let's spend a little longer on teaming. So the way I see it, I'm just throwing this out there, get you talking. The way I see it, you are in the middle of this current team. In other words, Mark is the most experienced, highest producer, blah, blah, blah. He's the leader, right? You're a partner with Mark. Dan and Mike are the newest, lowest producing, still have the most development to do. So you're basically an equal colleague, right, working with Mark, and then more of a mentor, the ability to actually help Dan and Mike come up. Now, Mike isn't here, he's not, so we don't have to talk a lot about Mike, you mentioned him once. So maybe you talk about just, talk about Dan, we can actually show you working with Dan. So I see that you have a role of helping Dan with his development, the same way Mark helped you with yours. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
But it's not a hierarchy. You guys are always working together. You each have a role. So I'd like to get your take on that. The fact that you learned from Mark, you're helping Dan, and all three of you are playing a role in each other's businesses.
We are, and Dan's helping us as well. Dan has something that we don't. He is very tech savvy, and he's really elevated our business through automation and technology. So we all help each other equally. When I talk to Dan about being an advisor, that allows me to step out of Mark's spotlight and try and develop as a mentor. So we are learning a lot from one another.
How would you describe the roles that each of you plays? Think of a week or a month or a batch of leads or open cases, like a scenario where all three of you could be involved. How do you decide what role each person's going to play to get business on the books?
I think it's naturally evolved. Mark has the product knowledge. He will tell you himself the details and the follow through are not his forte. I thrive there. Dan helps with the service work and the automation and the technology. He also has incredibly calm energy for when something is going wrong and being able to chat with the client and talk them off the ledge. The best partnerships have come out of not trying to force the fit. You've worked with a lot of people over the years, each of us personally, And these pieces of the puzzle are just naturally fitting together.
Okay, great. With the team, what do you really enjoy? What's really special and fun about working with Mark and Dan?
I mean, there's not a day we don't crack ourselves up and laugh hysterically, which is always fun. You don't want to be in a situation where it's just monotonous and it's the same thing. The clients provide a lot of content. They're so different in their backgrounds, and whether they're business owners or stay-at-home parents, they're always very interesting. So it's never the same thing over and over. We have a large range of products, although I feel our core product has always led with life insurance. At the core of protection, that's where we like to start, and a lot of other planning comes out of that.
Flip side, and this is not talking badly about anybody. What have you had to work out with each other? What's the challenge of working with Mark and Dan, or just working with other agents?
Well, Mark is completely ADD, so sometimes I have to rein him in to get him to focus. And logistically, early on, that was more of a challenge. But now that we have, because Dan's out in Worcester, for those that don't know, and we're here on the South Shore, but that has really come together now with Zoom and everything else, with constant team meetings over Zoom on a daily basis.
Okay. All right, so two things I want to ask about specifically for you now. One is, we talked earlier about, obviously phoning is a challenge, and you have ways to make it work, but structure, schedule-wise.
Mm-hmm.
How do you structure your phoning? And just tell me, are you a good Sales Central user?
I'm a decent Sales Central user. Do I put my phoning in there? No.
All right, so tell me how you structure your phoning, because you make a ton of phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
and you have that. Sometimes your role is to be the follow-up person.
Yep.
So how do you structure your phoning, and to the extent that it makes sense, how do you incorporate Sales Central into that? And then, just so you know, then we'll talk more about maybe Dan. Dan's very strong in Sales Central.
Yeah,
he's managing
pushed
some of
me
that
to
for
be
your
better in
share.
Sales Central.
Yeah, so just feed me some of that, because we need to help other agents. They keep hearing in class, you got to schedule phone time every week, and you got to use Sales Central. Is this somebody who has a couple of tips for them, is all I'm trying to get at.
You have to phone every week. That is tried and true. What I have always found that works for me are Thursdays and Fridays later in the day. People are in great moods. They're coming off hard work weeks, and you can lead with that. Hey, happy Friday. You just always have upbeat energy. Stand up, walk around the room, whatever it takes to sound upbeat. Don't give up. People call people 3 times and then they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. If you have the mindset you are bothering someone, you are in the wrong profession. We are helping people. And people who don't want to meet now, it's just a not now. It's generally not a never. That's few and far between.
Okay, so what about the fact that we tell all of our agents to phone on Mondays from 2 to 7? What's the Monday phoning strategy?
I hate Mondays. I don't phone on Mondays ever. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't know if you want that on camera.
No,
but
that won't get on there. But
okay.
I
It doesn't work. It doesn't. Mondays just don't work for me. Mondays, everyone is coming off work, like weekend stuff. They're trying to catch up with work on Mondays. So for me, the warm people are always on Thursdays and Fridays. Nights, Saturdays. If you want to make it in this business, you got to push yourself. You got to work hard. My day is not 9 to 5. Ever.
About some, working outside working hours.
I don't ever think of anything outside working hours when I look at my paycheck. So with one thing, there's a reward. The other thing is sometimes my kids have sports in the middle of the afternoon and I have to run out and do that. So it's very flexible to be able to make my own hours. And sometimes that is nights or weekends. And that works for me.
Okay. In a genuine way,
Mm-hmm.
if we can. No BS. But if you're either you're all using it to keep your prospects and appointments and open cases straight, or at least one of you is. 'Cause you
Dan
can't-
is
you can't
keeping
have
it
all.
straight. He puts it in there, but then we use it. He puts all the notes for the meetings and everything is in there.
So let's talk about how,
So-
we already said Dan, in the context of the team, Dan's the technology and automation guy.
Yep.
So let's flesh that out with reference to Sales Central and managing cases and prospects.
So Mark and I also knew we had to get better at managing our technology and utilizing Sales Central. We knew that was a weak spot and that we could leverage it more. Dan Haddad has been crucial in that he drives us to be better. He's our point person, and we start to centralize all of our clients and data.
So let's get a little specific. What does Dan, how do you all use Sales Central by virtue of what Dan's doing?
So all information for appointments goes into a consumer file pre and post meeting. And we've also picked up e-file cabinet where we have electronic records. So we have, whether you're in Worcester or Florida or New York, you have the data you need for your clients at your fingertips.
A specific, target market, a niche market, a preferred market, like is there, the question, is there a market or type of prospect that you most enjoy working with?
Probably my peer group. I'm 50, and I know a lot of people in my community, families, children, right around the same age, who have built up their careers. They have assets. They don't look at them often enough to review them, and it's a great place to start.
How do you connect with that market, your peer group in that market of young to mid-stage families?
Well, I have 2 kids, so I'm in the community all day, every day. You don't have to talk about what you do professionally all the time, but it absolutely comes up and people start to ask questions. So just make it conversational. I don't put people on the spot. I learned a term early on, and you learn from making mistakes. When you have commission breath, it doesn't work. So I have learned early on that they will meet when they are ready, but it doesn't hurt to self-endorse in the meantime.
Good. So what do you say? Give me an example of if somebody asks you, what do you do? You're out in the community. How do you describe to people what you do?
I work at New York Life. I am able to help people in many ways improve on their planning, whether that be with insurance or disability or long-term care. We also work with small businesses and group benefits. When we talk with people, we're often talking about improving on pieces of what they've already done. We're not trying to insult their planning up into this part. We're trying to enhance it. So it's always, I feel good we could always walk away knowing that we did something to make their planning better. The same way I made my own planning better when I came on board.
If you could, that's great. I forgot to tell you, to sometimes restate the question or answer in a full sentence so people know what.
Okay.
So all I just need you to just say, when somebody asks me what I do, or if I'm talking to somebody and telling them what I do, just say that, and then I can plug the rest in after.
Yep. When I'm talking to somebody about what I do.
Good. Okay. And then.
Sorry. Go ahead.
When someone asks me what I do, I tell them
Okay. That'll because then I think I'm gonna probably start with I'm 50.
what I do. Oftentimes, I will tell them what I do, but not ask them if they need help. Say, perhaps you know somebody that might need my help. So taking the pressure off of them allows them to really hear about what I do, and they start to think about it.
It's a great technique. Yeah. As far as I know, you didn't invent that technique. Do you
No.
remember who you learned it from?
I have learned that technique from Mark Selvaggi, from Matt Angel, from Rob Crocker, from a lot of the advisors here.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I think that's an awesome way to converse with people and make it non-threatening. And let's see.
Mark mentioned that too.
Yeah?
He was talking. Yeah. That you do that.
Is there another market? Small business owners also a passion for you?
We look to work with small business owners because Mark and I both come from that space, so it's a natural conversation. It's also a place where we really can put ourselves in their shoes because we've walked a mile in their shoes. We would both be better off as business owners if we knew what we knew now, using in our old businesses, for sure.
Okay. Planning strategies or products that you're passionate about that you try to go out and do?
I would say I really like starting with life insurance. It's a core product that families need for protection. It opens up conversations. It allows you to learn about them personally. Do they have a mortgage? Are they married? Do they have children? Are they in a job with a pension? Do they have a 401k? What do they understand about those assets? So it's a really good starting place.
Okay. Any, not that we talk, how do you go about opening more of these cases in these markets that you want to work with? So for the young to mid families, it's because it's your peer group. How do you approach business owners? How do you find them and approach them? Is there a prospecting marketing strategy that has worked very well?
I wouldn't say for business owners, but the other thing that we've starting to do more of is long-term care. I think with our age, Mark and I are similar ages. That's a natural market for us. That's something that's top of mind for us, and we speak to it. So that's a big one going into this year, long-term care.
All right, so we're going to come back to that when we talk about sort of goals and what's next, right? Okay, so that's enough on who you enjoy working with, right? All right, so breakout year. Let's talk about 2021. First of all, how are we doing on time? Have you ever done? And obviously being the top dog in the new org. So, can you point to anything that you did differently? I'll say anything specific, but it doesn't have to be not a specific case. But what was different in your business that allowed you to have this breakout growth year?
COVID was a huge topic of conversation that started conversations about life and death for people, and it was a natural progression into life insurance. So we really leveraged that. We were getting calls all the time. And not having to go physically see clients, logistically, we were able to fit so many more appointments on the book. So we knew early on that we needed to figure Zoom out and get really good at it. Yeah.
So I'm going to keep digging. So I want to find
Yep.
something that's more unique to you.
Yep.
Right? Everybody has the benefit. I'd like to hear how you get prospects, how you generate leads, and then we'll see if it makes sense to use any of it. But yeah, I'm curious enough to have you dig into that and just go this. All right, so to do a lot of cases, logically you'd have to have a lot of prospects.
Lots of prospects.
Where do many of your prospects come from? How do you get prospects?
So the answer to that is not just one avenue, and I think it's important to build many different sources for that. We
Can
do.
we start that one? Yeah, because this is probably a good thing for us to have here. So.
I have to think about one thing I was thinking.
Yeah, that's fine.
We get prospects from a lot of places, and I think that's key. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So whether we are building up our referral sources through networking or BNIs or any other group that you're involved in, those relationships are really important. We are working our referral systems from past clients who have been really happy with us. We're planning annual reviews. We are buying leads and just dabbling in a little bit of that and using automation to figure out how we can get more touches out to each and every one of those folks. And a lot of times it's easier to call those folks who you don't know than it's to call people you do know.
So I want to pull out one piece of that you talked about your clients. So I would say, well, going into this year, you had only been really working here full time for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have a huge client base yet, but you did manage to figure out how to get business from your client base, how to get client referrals, and probably some repeat business.
Yep.
So I'd like to just spend a minute on that, and even have you make the point. Like, look, I'd only been here when 2021 started. I'd only been here 2 years, so I didn't have a ton of clients. but my clients became a major source of my business. And here's how I relate, here's how I get referrals, here's how I get back in to see my clients through annual reviews. Like, just kind of spell it out a little bit to the extent that it's true. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yep.
I want to help you say what maybe is important to say.
Yeah. So when I started this past year, 2021, I had only been here for 2 years, so I didn't have a large client base. But as I mentioned before, a lot of the planning started with life insurance. So once those folks were my clients and they learned to know, like, and trust me, I was able to follow up and plan additional annual reviews and do more complex planning with them and build out from that relationship.
How do you position annual reviews with your client? How do they hear from you?
So clients hear from us on a yearly basis on their birthday. We call them, we mail them cards. People are always really happy on their birthday. It's very simple, but it works. And then natural conversation comes up in regard to annual review, and we set up times, and we do our business talk on those meetings rather than on the birthday calls.
Referrals to a client. When or how do you like to elicit referrals from a client?
I think the best way to ask clients for referrals is just ask. It's not rocket science. Hey, you know what I do now. Do you know anyone else that might need my help? Simple as that. I think people make too much of it and they get really stressed out about it, but you just ask. Again, what's the worst they can say? No, I don't right now. Oh yeah, my friend Betty needs your help.
You a referral?
Yeah, we're working on that. We're trying to come up with a better program for saying thank you. We just
Yeah.
did tumblers this year to big clients, but
Yeah.
no.
Do you circle back and one of the things I've been taught is
Communication,
when somebody
for
gives you a
sure.
referral,
Yeah.
You have to let them know when you've made contact with the referral.
Yep. Yeah, I always do that, especially with our COIs when we get referrals. Always let them know if something came out of it. Obviously, you can't tell them exactly what it is, but you can always say, yes, I connected with John and Mary, and we had a first great meeting. Thank you for connecting us.
Good. I'd still love to, without mentioning a name, like, could you say what percentage of your 2021 business came from existing clients? Because we have a 10% benchmark. I'm assuming you did at least.
I don't know, to be honest, but we also utilize Mark's client base, and we utilize the team approach for me to call them as the appointment setter. So, I mean, not for the camera per se, but it's almost like acting. I will be anyone on the phone. I will be Mark's equal partner. I will be his admin. I will be the advisor. It doesn't matter. I put myself in different roles. And just when you're the appointment setter and not calling to pressure them at that moment, it always works best. I get a lot of appointments that way.
Yeah, so how can we
Relationship, and that is crucial to this role. You have to get people to like you. And if they don't know you, they're not going to like you in the first 5 minutes they talk to you and want to buy all types of products from you.
Yeah, I think we might get a little bit of your voice at the beginning of that, but I think we'll be okay. The beginning was awesome. You can't try to make the appointment, make the sale all at the same time. I think it's a great point to make, and probably a mistake that a lot of people make. Is they're pushing too hard.
I've made the mistake myself. I remember specifically a client that I was too aggressive with, wanting to get things closed early on, and I completely lost the relationship. And at that moment, I realized I needed to break it down and take it slower and need to move at their pace, not mine.
Great. Okay. Part of the breakout year, besides going back and getting some clients to do business, what else was there? Innovation? Was there a different level of focus on something in 2021?
I think there was definitely a different level of focus last year. Mark and I sat down and we created more of a business plan than we ever had before. And that has been very important. So we're starting to take the steps to change our business so it grows.
Okay. Of that business plan in 2021, what was something that you set out to do that you actually were able to do?
We wanted to add an additional person to our team, and we did that by adding Dan Haddad, and he brings a lot to the table. We'd like to automate things more touches, more contacts. Each person has a role on the team, and we stick to our lane, and we all do it really, really well. Nobody's egos get offended.
And can the roles change from one case to another, or when you say each person has a role, what would be your role? It can't. It's not always the
Absolutely.
same thing.
No, it's not always the same thing. Roles can change from one client to another. We also have to feel out that client and see where it goes. Sometimes clients like dealing with Mark better. Sometimes they like calling me. It just depends on the client.
Share from that business plan that you came up with? Either that you actually were able to execute or that you're still going to have to work on?
Oh, well, one of the things we're working on, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but one of the things that Mark and I are working on is a lead program with Andrew Grandy, the managing partner in Rockland. We are trying to leverage the partner we have down here in Rockland as well as the new org agents that are coming in. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, so that we won't put that on, but obviously I want to know more about that as
Yep.
we go forward and if I can play a role in supporting that.
Okay.
Okay. How you doing? All right?
I feel like I'm very serious. I'm not like this serious all the time.
Yeah, we've gotten you to laugh a couple of times, so we'll try to work it in.
I think it's just nerves. I'm like, Unlike
well, the
Mark,
thing
I
is-
don't like these like spotlight things.
Yeah, and it's tricky because both you and Mark are both very similar. Where in conversation and as you go through your day, you are joking and laughing and you like having fun like that. But that doesn't play well, right? Jokes don't play well in a 6-minute video about business. So
No.
we do have to kind of. Okay. What's one? You've already given me at least one, but what's another great piece of advice that you've got that you've used?
One of the best pieces of advice that I was given early on was get your securities license done right away. So I did life, health, SIE, 663, 5 in a row. Did it stink? Yes, but it's done. And now I can sell every product that we have.
So what's the next thing you have to get?
I am going to work on my 65 and my 7. That's my goal for 2022. And I want Nihilus back on my homepage.
We'll send that part to the Home Office for you. Sure, broken Salesforce. And yet,
Technology is
company
my
had its best year
biggest.
ever.
Yeah, I know.
Office had its best year ever.
Uh,
Right?
probably-
Somehow we.
You make do with
It's-
the bad stuff, and they don't think
You
got a
do.
problem.
You have to expect that there's going to be challenges.
Let's see. Yeah, so that's, what's your next goal? So what other, let's talk about 2022, get the 7 and 65. Let's talk a little bit longer term. What's sort of the vision? Where is this going? What do you want your business to look like ultimately?
I would like to get more educated about other product offerings that we have and more complex and advanced planning. I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the tax strategy. I enjoy working with folks that have the great problem of having too much money.
Okay. Will there be a DBA in the future? Will there be your own office? Are you passing this down to your children? I mean, what's the big ultimate vision? Do you have it?
I've talked to my children about passing this down, and at age 11 and 12, they want none of it, but they just don't get it yet. I'd like to build a bigger team, and I'd like to, I don't know, I don't want to talk about DBAs and that kind of stuff yet because we're still, stay tuned.
But I like what you just said. I'd like to build a bigger team.
I
Why?
would like to build
Why?
a bigger
How?
team. I would like to mentor more people. I would like to learn more about, I'd like to build a bigger team. And then 2 product offerings I would like to work more with this year would be long-term care is something that I'm really enjoying and getting better at, and the annuity space, creating income for folks.
What do you love about the business? What do you get up in the morning and you just excited about what?
It's not the same day to day, so that's really interesting. It has great flexibility. But the biggest thing is I enjoy working with Mark and Dan. They're great. You know, I think back to other companies I've been at and situations I've been at. Another thing that I find wonderful is I really truly believe in our products and what we do. I've been at plenty of sales positions where I sold something I didn't believe in.
Good. What gives you frustration every day?
Our technology. Besides that, something that gives you frustration is that with a lot of these assets, there's a physical attached to it. So the devil's in the details of somebody's medical records aren't always easy, and underwriting can be a long, arduous process.
Okay. In the office environment.
Just camaraderie. I really enjoy being in the office and learning more from other advisors, the camaraderie of the everyday show up, the everyday successes, the everyday failures. We share all of that. We put it all on the table and we all learn from one another.
It's great. I'm hoping we get back to that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a lot of places, that we just haven't gotten back to it yet. That's what we all enjoy. Let me only-
The moons.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Moon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If Mr. and Mrs. Moon were sitting here right now, and I asked them, what's special about Nancy McElroy? What do you love about Nancy? What would they say to me? How do your clients perceive you?
My clients know that I have excellent communication. I will always call them back. I will always show up. I will always get them the information they need and the accurate information. They appreciate my persistence because life gets busy and they know that this is important, but we all have those moments where you just don't want to tackle it. So they do appreciate that I bug them in a gentle manner enough to help them get this really important planning done. The other thing that I've really liked working with clients, and clients who are already very, very, very educated, is that I've been able to introduce them to a new asset class that they never knew anything about with our custom whole life products.
Cool. What about Mark? If Mark Salvaggi was sitting here and I said, how would you describe, if I asked you to just say Nancy is blank, what would he say?
Fearless. I'm not afraid to call anyone. And he knows that about me. So early on, that's how I gained success. I just booked appointments. I knew that if I built it, they would come. If I could just get appointments, I could figure it out. And I was able to get appointments. I'm good on the phone.
How are you good on the phone?
I think a lot of it goes in back to just not giving up. I'm great on the phone because I put myself in their shoes. Maybe it's not a good time when they pick up the phone, but I ask permission to call them back and what's a better time. And I don't give up until somebody actually tells me no. And even then, sometimes I still push a little.
Mark said fearless.
Did he? That's funny. I get creative too. Sometimes it backfires. For a while, there were some folks that I was trying to get a hold of, so I'd use this strategy where I would mail them a plastic foot and said, I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. But I did have one woman tell me it was very creepy and to mail it to her again. So you have to be creative sometimes.
How else are you creative? The plastic foot could work or not work. What else? What other innovations did you have to make? Try to get more appointments.
Funny subject lines for emails or reverse psychology. Have you given up? Question mark. Simple little touches. Handwritten notes. Not just phone and email. Sometimes you have to do something creative, whether it's leaving somebody flowers, or if it's somebody big enough that you've been after for a long time, just figuring out is where they're going to be and maybe just happen to bump into them or send something in the mail. Just something to get their attention. I'm not talking about gifts. I'm just talking about attention-getting strategies.
Yeah.
One subject line I use a lot that actually always gets a response is, I'm having a great hair day. Are you? So it's just funny, something to actually get your open rate on emails better. And you can Google all kinds of creative ideas. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but they're out there. Oh, the other thing I use with clients as well who have not responded in a while is I will send them a joke, but I do not tell them the punchline. I say, call me for the punchline. So that one's worked on occasion to get some folks to respond.
Nice.
How you just went right back after him, because he was convinced there would be nothing there, and one of them was really big.
Yeah, sometimes a different voice really helps with calling a contact. That's why the teaming approach is great, because if you're finding a dead end with someone, you flip it to somebody else and see if their voice gets through, and a lot of times it does. Use different phone numbers as well.
Yeah, everybody knows that trick, right? Call from different phones.
I'm remember that.
So a different voice can get through.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have 3 different voices. 4 if Mike,
Mm-hmm.
if you ever have Mike make a call, which I know you do on the leads.
Yeah, sometimes just somebody's different cadence is enough to bond or connect with a client.
So, looking back to 2019, let's say April, May, June, you've been here a few months, you kind of are getting the gist of it. What advice would you today give to Nancy of that day? What do you wish you had known that you now know? What would you tell yourself then to sort of prompt and promote success?
The first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that is that it will get easier, because I never believed it would get easier. I don't know, I just lost my thought. Say the question again.
What you know now that you wish you knew then? What advice, and it's really, you're giving, on the video, you're giving advice to the new people listening. But I'm just phrasing it as kind of, what do you wish you had known 2 years ago when you were brand new that maybe would have allowed you to succeed a little differently? Faster, better, easier, whatever. Is there something?
The advice I would give is the same advice I hear over and over again. Don't be afraid to be on the phone and make phone calls. Don't give up and get all your licensing right away, because you will have a much higher success rate. When you become established and you are so busy as we are, the last thing you want to do is try and go back and study. Plus, you have a whole arsenal of products now you can sell that you couldn't sell without those licenses.
Okay. You just made me think of something too, and I'm going to open up a topic. Mark actually mentioned it. You know, you've made council a couple of times. You've made Hundreds Club. You haven't actually gotten to go enjoy these big, awesome New York Life community events. Is there something to say about that? Are you motivated? Did you have to sort of give yourself a pep talk because there was gonna be no meeting and you still wanted to make council, or, like,
One of the things that makes me successful is that I am hungry. I am never comfortable thinking I have made it. I just keep my foot on the gas. I never, ever, ever worried about what level of business I was going to produce. I just knew that if I showed up and I made phone calls and I booked appointments, that I would be just fine. And here I am.
great. And yet, you did make EC, you did make Hundreds Club, and you're gonna make PC. Are you excited for the opportunity to go and meet with other high producers, the opportunity to go meet other agents?
Yeah,
who
for
you
the
work-
first time, I didn't start in the Waltham office. I started in Rockland, which was much smaller. I was able to leverage and be fortunate enough to have some really great advisors here. I'm also looking forward to meeting other advisors that I haven't connected with yet. First time at some of these events I have not been able to go to,
Like what?
like Hundreds Club and PC and just all these different levels as I move up. It opens up different opportunities, different ideas, different thought processes, because you learn so much from other advisors.
So were you disappointed when executive council was canceled? So you would have qualified for EC middle of last year
Mhm.
and would have gone to a meeting this past September, October, November, whenever it was scheduled. Were you disappointed when EC was canceled? The meeting?
Yeah, a little bit. It was an opportunity to finally get out there and meet additional folks at this company and leverage their ideas and their thought process. But I don't think about those missed opportunities. I just move forward and try and create new ones. That's just always my mindset. You can't dwell on the past. You can only control what's moving forward.
Yeah, on to Cleveland,
Cincinnati,
on to Cincinnati.
He lives in my town. He's much shorter in person than you realize.
Oh,
I'm in it.
He's fun.
Nancy, is there anything that you haven't said yet that you wanted to say?
You can't do this job 50% of the time. I know certain folks come into this thinking this is a part-time gig. This is not your part-time gig. If you give it your all and you keep going, you will be successful. But that's the mindset you need to have.
You came in with that mindset. You brought that with you.
That's just who I am. It's really funny. Somebody said to Mark and I, "You guys are really lucky." And that's not the way we look at it. We are very fortunate to have this opportunity, but when our cars are the first one in the parking lot and the last one to leave, that's not luck. I'm going to use that. And I also own 2 businesses, so absolutely going to leverage all that experience.
Is this your favorite? You're now a 3-time business person, entrepreneur, so to speak. Is this the best so far?
Absolutely. And the reason why is because you learn so much from your mistakes, and I've had the privilege of making a lot of mistakes in past businesses, which helped me be more successful here.
We can make that work. Is there a way we could get an opening? Previous experience as a business owner has been very helpful, or I'm building upon lessons I learned in my previous businesses, something like that.
Yeah, my previous experiences as a business owner have made me the most successful in this business. And the reason why is it's allowed me to make a lot of mistakes that I now have leveraged to get better at in this business.
Okay, I'm going to get a different take on that.
You made the mistakes in your previous
My
business.
previous
Like-
business,
Yeah.
my previous business experiences, have been very helpful to me here.
Or
Yep.
You already said the rest of it. I
Okay.
think the part that gets us into it.
My previous business experiences have helped me be really successful here.
That'll work. Okay. Or was it always sort of a sole practitioner, sole owner model?
I was sole owner in both businesses. I had 14 employees in the first one, and then I was just a sole business owner on my second business. This approach is fantastic because I don't have to be the best at everything. I just can shine where I'm good.
So, running a business as in a team model is actually new to you
Mm-hmm.
here. So how this could be a good little bit.
Running a business as a team is different than what I've had in the past. The reason why is this is a place where all of our strengths can now be used on an economy of scales, and we can really, really be good at the things that we do well. It's about Mark Salvaggi. He's been a great mentor. He's been a great friend. He is a supporter. He helps you get the resources you need when you want to learn. And he really is our fearless leader.
All right, I'm gonna
This is your
play devil's advocate now, okay? If Mark Salvaggi moved to Australia tomorrow, or did something stupid and got fired, if Mark wasn't here, you would still succeed. So how, we're not talking about anything bad about Mark. I'm trying to get to the point of you have this awesome team and you love it. But it's because each of you is capable on your own and you choose to work together. It's not because anybody is being held up by the team. So how do we do that? So you say, I really love working as a team. Mark's great to work with, Dan's great to work with. Let's figure out how to make it clear that nobody's getting a handout here. Everybody is, you've already said you have to be 100%, you show up every day.
Yep. On our team, everybody pulls their own weight, otherwise they wouldn't be on our team. And we all have the responsibility on each case, and we're incentivized to be the best at what we're good at.
Kind of like, teaming can work for anybody. You just need to find the right people.
That's exactly it. Let's get that sound clip right there.
So put it in your words. Like, I think you already have, but if we could encapsulate it in one statement, that would be good. Like, I found people that I can work well with. That's why the teaming works. Teaming is a great strategy in this business.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to find the right people to team with, and then you need to each commit to making the team successful.
Teaming can be a great strength here at New York Life. You just need to find the right people to work with. Everyone needs to pull their own weight, but it also helps that we get paid equally and that someone's just not an hourly employee because they're invested very much in this team.
Okay. That you'd like to, or any thoughts that have come up during the process?
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to my children. They watch me work this hard every day, and I think that has become a great role model for them. I could not help them on Zoom during COVID school. I was busy on Zoom myself, and they rose to the occasion and sacrificed themselves, and they're both straight A students, and they figured it out.
Great.
All of this sacrifice is for them. So when I show up here, it's for them.
Nice. We are going to need a couple of pictures. If you could, if you could email me a couple of photos of you with kids.
Yep.
Whichever ones you want.
So I sat down the other day to reflect about this. I turned 50 a few months ago, and there was a lot of challenges this last year. I'm a very strong and competitive person, so I'm just somebody who don't make excuses. Just do it. Yes, you're going to have days you want to quit. Yes, there's going to be days you stink at phoning. but just do something else that day. But just keep going and take it one day at a time.
Can I go in a different direction on
Yeah.
that? It was mentioned earlier that you might be a person who is very into routine, maybe also somebody who's a believer in karma, that you do certain things certain ways
I
because...
got my success bracelet here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So tell us
like-
about how that aspect of your personality that it causes you to behave and run your business certain ways, some beliefs that you have.
I am a major creature of habit, which is fundamental in my business. So I will phone every week. I will organize my business in my A clients, B clients, C clients every week. All these routines help me prioritize and figure out what needs to happen next.
What about, is there some superstition involved in any of this?
I'm a big believer in energy and positive energy, and not in judging anyone else, but in yourself. You have to believe in yourself and know in your core that you can do this. If you believe that, it will happen.
Okay. What else? Any other insight into Nancy?
I think I'm just a really, really resilient person. I had a very hard upbringing, but it's taught me stuff that I wouldn't change for the world. Things that people get upset about and the problems that they gripe about are things I don't even think about. My worries are much bigger, and I will worry when I need to.
That's great. Perspective, right? Perspective is a lot. All right, here's just a kind of funny, maybe off the record, his kind bar. Any issues?
Oh boy, did Mark set me up for that?
Any
Oh, I
issues
was gonna
there?
come over and slurp next to you and see what.
So what's
See,
up?
I'm more tactful about it than Mark. We both have the same sensory disorder. So, not to make light of it, but it is something both of us struggle with in work environments. So you have to learn how to adapt, be in an environment where you focus. That's why I sit in the corner of the conference room in there, so it's quiet. And it's a handicap, but it's one people don't know I have, so I work with it.
I'm trying to get and drinking and
Yes.
making noises and
And you just have to bite your tongue. If you're with a client and you're having that sensory overload, you need to be professional like any other environment and bite your tongue. And then after the meeting, you and your partner can decide that you want to give them away to another advisor next year when they do it again.
What about Mark's awful driving? How do you put up with that?
You might view it as awful driving, but I drive the exact same way as Mark. So I appreciate Mark's fast and his proficient driving.
Okay. You'll basically get car sick riding to an appointment.
No, but that's because I have motion sickness. So it's not because
Okay.
his driving. I actually enjoy driving really fast. It's I don't drive. So Zoom has helped with motion sickness, which has been great.
Yeah, so how have you made the best of it with having to go virtual for a couple of years now, early in your career? How do you turn that into a positive?
It was turned into a positive. We were able to fit so many more meetings in. Clients, it was easier for them to meet at times that they were available. It became a joke sometimes when technology didn't work or a client was in an environment that maybe the background was funny or what have you, but you do turn it into a positive. It's survival, and we learned, and now we're thriving.
So let's just put the opening line on that. We found ways to make the best of...
We found ways to make the best of...
Oh, sorry.
What?
Shutdown or the,
Yep.
the pandemic shutdown and having to work virtually.
We found ways to make the best of COVID and the shutdown and having to work virtually.
Perfect. All right, what's the sensory disorder called?
The sensory disorder is called misophonia. And I'm going to say that word, you're all going to Google it, and one of you is going to realize you have it. And if you do, call me. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Great. Misophonia.
Yep.
Phony up about hearing, right, so.
I hear sounds that you don't. And I did notice you reading the kind bar, I have to be honest.
I didn't slurp.
No, I know. You were good, Logan.